I'm Amy,
I'm Tracy.
and we are retired librarians,
And sisters.
and we love to talk about books. So we are going to share our October monthly reading wrap-up.
The first thing I read this month was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I actually listened to it on audiobook, and it was for my book club. It was a great book. It took me a little while to get into it, but great story. Loved it.
That book gave me anxiety, so I could not finish it. Another book that gave me anxiety was The Light Pirate by Lily Dalton Brooks, but I probably should not have read that during Hurricane Helene since it was about flooding and the end of the world. But it was a great book. I highly recommend it if you like dystopian literature, and if you liked Where the Crawdads Sings, I think you would enjoy the environmental part of The Light Pirate as well.
Okay, next I read Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. And this one I saw recommended online on Book Talk somewhere. And I thought the premise sounded good because it's kind of cold case. So if you like true crime, 6 experts come along to try to solve a 20-year-old murder. So I got it from the library, and then when I opened it, I don't know if you can see this, but this is how it's written. It's like a transcript of a show, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. It's gonna be hard to follow, but it wasn't. I loved it. Great characters. You're trying to figure it out right along with the experts, and there was a twist at the end that you may not see coming.
So 4 of my books were the Atlee Pine series by David Baldacci, and I really like David Baldacci. His Amos Decker series is my favorite, and Atlee Pine was a good story. The first book, she is an FBI special agent out of the Grand Canyon, and I wanted it to stay out in the Grand Canyon, but it came back east. It was still good. Missing people, mafia crimes. I just need a Grand Canyon book now to read.
My next one was a middle grade book. We were both middle grade librarians, so we read a lot of middle grade and a lot of YA. But I read The Bletchley Riddle by Ridge Petties and Steve Shankin, who are 2 great authors for middle grade books. Read anything that they ever write. I got into Bletchley Park, which is where they did the code breaking in World War II, from The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I read that book and was just fascinated by how all these women helped break the codes of the Enigma machine. If you've heard of Alan Turing, you know that movie and stuff, that's what it's all about. Well, this is 2 teenagers. It's a brother and a sister. The boy is 19. He's an actual code breaker, and the girl is just having to stay with him because of another part of the mystery, and she's like running errands in Bletchley Park. But great story. I would recommend it for any age.
All right, and then I read Birding with Benefits, which I would only recommend to adults because it is bird watching with benefits, and it is such a cute story. This is one that I'm probably going to reread every year. It would be my comfort read. It's by Sarah T. Dubb, and it was so much fun. So our main character, she's just always up for anything. Since her divorce, she wants to focus on herself, and so she just says yes to everything. She thinks she's saying yes to just going to the park to make sure this guy doesn't have an awkward time with his ex-girlfriend. So she's going to pretend to be his girlfriend. She doesn't realize that she's signing up for a bird watching adventure that's going to take the next several weeks. And he's wonderful. He's a great character. It's like when friendships develop. It's friends to lovers. So I'm going to have to reread that every year.
Okay, for my book group this month, we read The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, and it's a cute little witch story about a girl who's not that much into witchcraft, but she accidentally hexes her boyfriend because he leaves her over the summer, and he comes back like 8 years later, and they're trying to break the hex. So cute little story, a little bit of spice, and I was a little bit surprised since I recommended it for my book club. But hopefully people enjoyed that part. Not too spicy, but definitely some spice.
So Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper is another fun romance, mystery, witchy, paranormal. and it's hilarious. Molly Harper is a hilarious writer. So our main character has just found out her mother has died, and she just found out that she had this long lost aunt that her mother never talked about, because her mother never talked about anything with her. And she is supposed to go to this little island in the UP, Michigan, called Starfall, and meet her aunt. Well, when she gets there, after this horrendous ferry ride, she finds out her aunt has died and left her this house. A house which is full of ghosts. And there's a sexy, nerdy librarian.
We tried to read a lot of witchy and ghosty things for October. So I read another middle grade novel, which is called A Strange Thing Happened in Cherry Hall by Jasmine Warga. It's about a boy whose mom works as a cleaning lady and a museum, and a painting goes missing. And he's trying to make sure that his mom is not blamed for this. And he's in middle school, and he's making new friends. He makes friends with a girl and maybe a ghost. So it's really good for middle grade. It was really cute.
And I read another romance. And it's called Who's That Earl by Susanna Craig, and it is from her Love and Let Spy series. So our main character is a novelist. She has to write under a pen name, because this is either Regency or Victorian. I can't remember which. And she's been living in this crumbly castle and pretending that she's just the secretary for the novelist, when this Scottish man shows up, and he has just been told he's the Earl of Magnus, and he's got some weird novelist that lives in his house that he has to decide what to do with. So it was a lot of fun, and I think that'll be a fun series to continue. Love and Let Spy.
I read The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick. This is kind of a new series, and her next book, The West Wind, is coming out in November. But it's kind of a tale on Hades, and a take on Hades and Persephone. She is sacrificed to the North Wind. The North Wind comes to the village every few years when he needs a new wife. And we don't know what happens to his old wives yet, but he tries to take her sister, and she kind of volunteers. So it's like I volunteer as tribute, and she ends up going with him. There's some romance, there's some spice, but it was really different, and I liked it just because of the way things came about in the book. And it is going to be a series, and she's going to do all 4 of the winds.
Okay, well, that was not the end of my...
Oh, so I've got one more then.
Okay.
Going Zero. I got this from the library, and it's Going Zero by Anthony McCartan. This was a really good book. It's about... there's kind of a contest where they're challenging them to beat AI. You have to hide off the grid for 30 days. And if you can get to the end of 30 days, you win like $1 million. It may be like 3 million. I can't remember. But anyway, they pick people that have some skills. They pick some random people, and, they give them a little bit of prep time. And then they say after that, if you can hide for 30 days and we can't find you, you're going to win all this money. So there's an unassuming little librarian who gets chosen to be in this contest, and she may or may not be the last one standing. It's quite interesting at how hard a time they have finding this librarian, and she may not be all that she seems. So this was a really good one that I got from my public library.
All right, well, that's our reading wrap up for October.
So happy reading, and we will let you know what we're reading for November.